Before we continue with today's session, it's so important that we do an acknowledgement of traditional lands. Royal Rhodes University acknowledges that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Krusekopf, Esquimalt, and Lekwungen Songhees ancestors and families. It is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. Welcome. So today's session, the MBA Question and Answer. So we have a great panel in the room. I'm pleased to welcome everybody and to welcome Dr. Charles Krusekopf. He's the MBA Program Head. We have Dr. Mark Lokanan, who's an MBA Program Associate. We have Sigrun Murr, who is an MBA grad. We have Janice M Krissa, who's an MBA student. And my name is Emara Angus, and I'm an education specialist. And in a moment, we'll have everybody introduce themselves. But first, I'm going to quickly go over the plan for today's session. So welcome and introduction, that's where we are right now. Welcome, and introduction will be soon. And we're gonna have a question and answer throughout today's session with the panel, but please ask your questions throughout. I've prepared a bunch of frequently asked questions that we get often about the MBA. But if you find that your question is not being answered or you want us to dive deeper, pop it in the chat. That is what today's session is all about, answering your questions and giving you more perspective of what the MBA program is all about. Okay, wonderful. So give me a thumbs up with your reaction feature if you're ready to jump into the question and answer part of today's session. Awesome, thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up. Great, okay, so meet our panelists. So we're gonna do a quick roundtable and we're gonna get all the panelists to take about 30 seconds to a minute to tell us about themselves. So I'm gonna start here with Charles and we'll go in the order listed. Welcome, Charles.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Charles Krusekopf. I'm the program head for the MBA, and I'm a professor. I teach in the area of international economics and international business and do work especially in Asia. So I lead the Asia Pacific specialization in the program. And I'm also working right now, and I'm on the traditional territories of the Tianu First Nation here between Michosin and Suk, and I'm leading a program now where we're partnering with Haisla Nation and delivering a graduate certificate to mid-career Indigenous managers from a variety of different nations. And that's a program we're going to be continuing, and we'll talk a little bit about specializations, and that will be one of the newly emerging specialization options that we have for the program. So if anyone's interested in a program such as that, or any of the other specializations, please contact me, and I'm happy to talk with anyone anytime after the session about your your own interests and questions that you may have.
Thank you, Charles. And Mark, I invite you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Emara. I'm Mark Lokanan, and Professor of Accounting in the School of Business. I look over the accounting section. So if you have any questions regarding accounting and finance in today's discussion, please, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
And now, Sigrun, I'd love to invite you to also say your name again, because I know I always mispronunciate it.
Thank you, Emara. So my name pronounced in English is Sigrun, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm originally from Munich in Germany, where we pronounce my name Sigrun, but I know this is hard to do for people, and I'm totally fine with that. I came to Canada about 10 years ago, and I did my MBA program from 2013 and graduated in 2015. I did my MBA actually as an international student. So if you have any questions around that in terms of like student visa, please let me know. I got my permanent residency after. I'm very happy about this. And yeah, any questions you have on the program? I know the program made many progresses so far. Happy to answer. I'm currently working at Fraser Health Authority. There are a few other people actually doing their masters from Fraser Health as well. So looking forward to questions from you. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Janice, welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janice Murr, and I'm a current MBA student who also works full-time. I am the Senior Vice President for Junior Achievement of Northern Alberta. So I oversee the funding for about 16,000 students. I'm also a mother of 3, and very busy right now, but I love it. And I will be graduating from the MBA program in July 2022.
Wonderful. Thank you everyone for the introductions. All right, shall we jump in? So the next question that I know many people ask, and it's how we're going to start our session, is why do an MBA? And we're going to start with Charles kind of explaining a bit about the MBA, and then we're going to get a student and grad perspective on why they did the MBA. Charles.
Yeah, and this is just an overview, and we have several other webinars if you're interested that cover some specific aspects of the MBA, such as the specializations, and other question and answer times that we've had and presentations on the MBA. So we're just giving a little snippet in a way of that and sort of what's different or what's unique in MBA. Of course, there are many MBA programs out there, and our MBA, and I think we see from you all who are here in the room, are people who have a significant amount of work experience. So we say that at least 7 years of work experience if you have an undergraduate degree, a little bit more if you're coming in under what we call flexible assessment. But we have a really wide range of people from different organizations in our MBA. And I say organizations because it includes, we have companies, small companies, family companies, some of the large companies, and as well as nonprofits, government, and a whole wide variety of different fields. So we have a kind of generalist MBA with a wide set of people who bring a lot of experience. The average age in the program is approximately 40. So people have a lot of work experience, and everyone though comes for the same reason. They come to further themselves personally and further their careers and develop their management skills. And I think a lot of people find that they've been put in a management position and they sort of feel, okay, I need to build my skills, I need to build my credentials, and the network and the experience that you can gain from your classmates really, really help you. People tell us a lot, well, I work more in the IT area, but my teammates, my classmates, there were a couple of HR people. When I have questions, I turn to them. So that piece of really having a very experienced classmates and who come from a wide variety of backgrounds and organizations is something that's a real strength within our program. And you'll hear about that. So I can talk about it, but I think the students, alums, et cetera, have really felt it and can talk about that. So in our program, we do have a cohort-based program in which you move through most of the classes in the program together with your cohort. You take the classes that are in a classic MBA around, we have accounting that Mark leads, and then finance. We have classes in leadership, and we have a strong emphasis on sort of the internal, both you're developing yourself personally and developing your leadership skills within the organizational context. So leadership, organizational behavior, change management, those areas. Then we also do go across marketing, operations, finance, the different areas of the organization as well. We try to bring in different case studies and live case studies. In our second residency, we always have a couple of companies who are there and present about their companies. And then you work in teams in order to do an internal and external analysis for the company and make recommendations back to that company. So we try to make the learning and the exercises that you do very applied. One of the things, and we already had pretty well phased them out, but our dean just gave us that word, no more tests. Things should be, or no more where you proctored test, where you sit and try to take a test. It's very much built around exercises, things that you can apply within your organization, within your context, and that really allow you to apply the learning back into your work as you go through the program and then afterwards. And then this piece of getting to build your network, getting to know these connections. People really talk about how they've stayed friends and business connections with their teammates, with their cohort mates going forward. And people still get together. People still talk all the time as they go forward to work together continuously. So.
Thank you, Charles. And now we're going to get the perspective of our MBA student and our MBA grad. So we'll start with Sigrun. Why did you choose to do the Royal Rhodes MBA program?
Thanks, Emara. Yeah, it's a good question. Like for me, my journey was quite non-linear through my career, and I was in management positions without ever having finished university. I did actually go to university in Munich for 2 years for biochemistry, and then I realized I'm not smart enough for physical chemistry, and I dropped out. But I work in most workplaces will just recognize your experience. But at some point, I was actually having issues in my career because I did not have any postgraduate degree, and I initially actually wanted to choose a bachelor, but when I connected with Royal Rhodes and talked about my experience, gave my resume, they actually said, we are happy to admit you to the MBA directly, which I was really amazed. The value on the experience was way higher than the value of having any bachelors. So that was the reason for me to choose the MBA. Plus, again, the other big reason for me was that there was a way for me to do this while working full-time at the same time. And that was an important factor for me to choose as well.
Thank you for sharing that. And Janice, why did you choose to do the Royal Rhodes MBA? And I know you're in the program right now, but what was your motivation for choosing the MBA?
Yeah, for sure. So I have worked in business for a number of years. I'm a little older than the average age Charles referred to. And so I don't know, it was always on my radar to do an MBA. And during COVID, it got a little boring. And I thought, well, this is it. Why be bored? Be productive. So that's when I decided to pursue an MBA. Royal Rhodes was actually my first choice. I did have some friends who had attended the program and talked very positively. My mentor actually helped as an advisor on the program, and I really respect the work that he does in the community. He's an astonishing leader. So just knowing that that's what some of the values would be. Yeah, so the other thing is I worked in education. Well, I've been working in education for the majority of my career, and many educators choose Royal Rhodes to upgrade their credentials. So that, in my mind, speaks volumes that if educators are looking to get further ahead through Royal Rhodes, I should definitely look at this program. So I was really happy. The flexible schedule does work. It's hard, I won't lie, but it does work.
Emara, I just want to, can I chime in? I just want to ask, so one of the problems I've noticed in the past is that students find it very difficult to transition from work to school. Janice, would you mind commenting on both of you on your experience transitioning from work to school, please?
Oh, for sure. I know it's so weird to see Janice Krissa Moore student. I've seen other things by my name for so long. So to see student again, yeah, it was definitely a shock. I think that, I mean, one of the things that's great is it's humbling. I did learn, I thought, even though I'm a senior vice president, I learned how much I didn't know. And so the transition was, I think that once if you're looking into this, you're obviously, something's piqued your interest. And I don't know, throughout life, the best things that I've ever done are things that have made me nervous. So I was happy to be a little nervous on the first residency, coming and meeting everyone, because like you don't know who you're going to meet. This program does attract some amazing leaders, right? So it's really cool to have that experience. I think that just the way that you are working with a cohort, I love the group learning aspect of it. It does enhance the learning experience, and it enhances that being a student again, like it makes it a little bit easier because you're not alone. Everybody is juggling a whole bunch of things. There might be 2 or 3 people that are not working that are in my program. So we're all very understanding. And so the transition for me, yeah, it worked. It just happened.
Yeah, and I can add on to that, Janice, because my experience was very similar, because it is really hard when you come from working many years to get your mind back into that study mode. But I found the first residency, and I know we'll talk about about that later, so valuable, because taking this time off from work to actually really get back into how do I actually study. And it's not easy, right? But again, also to what you said, Janice, because you are not alone, everyone is there with you. And that cohort-based learning makes a huge difference in how you can work with each other together to get back into that mode. And what I can say, at least from my experience and my colleagues in the program, we had a 3-week first residency. After those 3 weeks, you're back into this is how I study.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. So we're going to keep going. And the next question is, what does the program delivery look like and how long will it take? And I'm going to invite Charles to speak a bit to that. And then we're going to go to the student and alum perspective.
Thanks. And as you heard, so our program offers a couple of different options. One is an 18-month program, and another is a 31-month. And the difference between those really is, so both cohorts enter at the same time and do their first residency together. Our residencies for almost 2 years now have been online, but now we're coming back to campus starting in January. So our next residency in January will be on campus again in Victoria, which we have a beautiful campus. We don't get to show you all the pictures, but anyone who's visited will go online and see some of the pictures. And and so you come for you do a bit online, come for a 3-week residency on campus, and then you go back into the online format. And in the 18-month program, you'll be taking 2 classes through most of the time online, 2 classes at one time. And the 31-month, you take 1 class in each term. So it's a little bit lighter load. Some people prefer that. Some people ask, well, if I start in the 18-month, but I get overwhelmed, can I switch to the 31-month? And we say, yes, it's the same classes. They're just offered in a different, they're spread out a bit more for the 31-month offering. So it is a blended program. You have the residency at the beginning of the program. Then you would be in the online taking courses for roughly 12 months if you're in the 18-month program, or about 24 months if you're in the 31-month program. And then you come back for your second residency, which is, as I said, where you have corporate clients who come in and you introduce their company and then you make presentations back to them. So in that residency, you're working with your teams and working with those corporate clients. And then you have an organizational management project, the OMP, and we have another webinar, I know, where we talk more detail about the OMP, but that's a project that is like a research paper that you're working on an organizational issue that you choose. So with your courses, the residencies, the OMP, then that will complete the program. We are launching, and if there's any of the international students there, we are launching this full-time on-campus program starting next fall as well. So that will be roughly an 18-month program as well. It will just, you will participate in the residencies, but then you will take classes on campus. And that's for international students who might be looking in part, everyone is welcome to join this, but in particular, international students who are interested in their Canada work authorization. This meets the requirements of that so that you get enough classes on campus in order to qualify for your work authorization after graduation. And so our admissions people can talk more about that if you have any questions on that, but that will be next fall. So our next intakes will be in January, and then another one next summer.
I know that's a lot of information about kind of the difference between the 2 programs, and we're going to jump into it with our grad and our alum. But here's another slide where we've just made it really clear. Charles, can you speak to just the difference between 18, 31 and on campus? So we have it just clearly laid out here as well.
Yeah, so again, the 18-month program, so you start the program online for a few weeks, come for your first residency, then go back online for about a year, take 2 distance classes at a time, do your final residency, write your OMP, and you're finished with the program in approximately 18 months. 31-month, Same process. So both of these programs you'll follow together in a cohort with your classmates that you enter with. And the 31-month, you just take one course online in most of the distance terms. Some of those will be together with the 18-month students that you started with. And then there'll be a set of courses that you'll start with you'll take with a different set of the students as well. So it just takes a little bit longer. Students go back and forth. Most students, the majority of students start in the 18-month program. A few of them decide, okay, this is a little intense, or work got really busy. So we try to build in flexibility where you can change from one offering to the other based upon your own personal needs, what comes up in your life. In terms of the on-campus program, again, it's launching next fall, and will be a program that will be 18 months. You'll have a mix of courses in the blended format. You'll do some of your specialization courses online, but then you'll also have courses on campus at the Royal Rhodes campus.
Awesome, thank you. So now let's get the perspective of our student and our grad. So let's start with you, Janice. Why did you choose the 18 or the 31-month option, and what is or was it like? So I guess which option did you choose and what's it like?
Yeah, I'm in the 18-month option, and I think that, you know, I'm kind of a get or done person. 31 months seem like a mortgage to me. The 18-month, it's gone by so fast. Like, I know, I read an article today about the time change coming up, and wow, you know, like looking at time, it's gone by really quickly. And yeah, I think it's like, I'm not gonna lie, it is hard, and but it's good, right? Like, if it wasn't hard, you shouldn't want to do it, right? Like, we're taking on a challenge. In terms of, like, you do really look forward and treasure time. You get 2 weeks off in between, like, as Charles was talking about, the 2 programs at a time. So you're like busy, and then you're like, okay, 2 weeks off. I mean, my 2 weeks off is coming up November 1st, and I booked Mexico yesterday. So yeah, like, you're like, okay, I get a little break here. So treasure that time. This really enhanced my time management skills, because, like, it's intense, right? Like, I look back and I'm like, holy smokes, I have completed 8 master's levels program or courses in such a short period of time. But don't think because it's short that it's not a lot of work. It's condensed, so you do have to be prepared to really dive in and focus.
Wow, that is intense. I'm glad you have a trip to go to kind of decompress after all of that. Enjoy Mexico. And Sigrun, would you like to speak to which option that you were part of, the 18th or the 31 month?
Sorry, are you asking me now? Awesome, sorry, it was cutting out for a second. So yes, thank you, Emara. And I have to say, very frankly, I did not get a choice. There was no 30-month option when I was in the program, but you know, the beauty of that is, and I love to speak about this forever and a day, always please give your feedback, because Royal Rhodes listens and they adapt the program constantly. I really love that there's a 31-month option now. I know a few from my cohort probably would have loved that. I am with Janice actually on that. I'm a do and get it done person. I was actually quite happy that it was paced that way. It is doable, right? And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy, but it's doable. And once you have achieved that, you're going to be proud of yourself. You're also going to be proud of yourself doing it in 31 months, because we all have a life. We all are human people. So be kind to yourself. And I'm very happy that there's this option available now as well.
Thank you so much for both of your perspectives on it. So now we're going to talk about specializations. So a question that we get is, what kind of specialization can I do in my MBA? And I will invite Charles to speak to some of the specializations available.
Well, this is an exciting topic for me, because this is something that we've really tried to make more flexible to people. So we have 3 specialization areas that are, we say, directly within the program that are offered by our MBA faculty. One focuses on management consulting, one focuses on leadership and global leadership. Another one is an international option. And we have two different international options. One is offered in September, which is with our partner school, the Grenoble School of Management in Grenoble, France. And that's international business and innovation and learning about the EU and their innovation policies. And then I've developed this Asia Pacific trade and investment. And each March, we take a group of students to Asia for about 10 days and visit a couple of different Asian countries. So you can choose one of those specializations within the program, but Royal Rhodes itself offers I think it's over 25 now, graduate certificates. And so these specializations in our program are of themselves graduate certificates. So everyone will get a graduate certificate plus an MBA designation, which is a dual credential, and I think a benefit of Royal Rhodes. But Royal Rhodes has all of these other graduate certificates, many of them in professional areas. So Royal Rhodes is well known for its executive coaching programs, which I took. I'm a graduate certificate graduate of the executive coaching program, but areas in human resources management and in other professional areas. And if you're interested in sort of combining and getting credit towards a professional designation like management consulting, we have aligned with the certified management consultants. So this is your educational component with some applied component, then you can get your CMC designation. So we have those types of professional graduate certificates. And then we've partnered with other programs at Royal Rhodes. So Royal Rhodes has really strong programs in environment and climate science. So there's several graduate certificates related to climate change and addressing climate change and leadership in that area. So you can do graduate certificates there. We have our programs in leadership, in communications, in several different areas, humanitarian studies. So you can do a variety of different graduate certificates across other programs at Royal Rhodes, and all of those can be used in the MBA. If you've done a graduate certificate at Royal Rhodes already, you've already completed 9 credits within the MBA, and you can bring your graduate certificate into our MBA program. So you just let them know when you're applying that you've already completed that graduate certificate, and it will allow you to already have some credits, which will save you a little money, a little time within the program. So there's a huge range of specializations, and you just have to look across the different graduate certificates at Royal Rhodes, and all of them qualify, and you can do them before, during, or we say many of our students want to come back and do a graduate certificate after they've graduated as well, and just their continuing education.
Thank you, Charles. And I know Tracy popped a link in the chat about all the different options for specializations. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that webpage, have a look, because like Charles was saying, there's a lot of choices. So now we're going to jump into our student and our grad perspective. Sigrun, let's start with you. How and why did you choose your specialization?
Awesome, thank you, Emara. So back when I graduated, we had 3 options. We had the management consulting option, the international, which was in France at that time, and I think it was called general, which the option to choose 2 out of 3 courses. I really wanted to do the international one, also because I am from Germany, and I figured that would be applicable. Back then, for me, the cost was too high. That was the reason I didn't choose it. I am considering to do it now just as a new certificate because I do have the MBA. I did choose the general one, and I chose the 2 courses. One was called coaching and one was called building sustainable communities. And that was one of the best choices I made. It was so beautiful what I learned there. I can apply this to my day-to-day work now all the time. So it sounded like almost like smaller than the other ones. The management consulting is awesome too, because it gives you credits to the CMC designation too. But that was a beautiful choice as well. And again, I do really value that I can go back to Royal Rhodes anytime now to add any other certificates I want to my program. Also, I could go do the international one, but anyway, that is my perspective on that.
Thank you. And Janice, for you, you're in the program right now. So how and why did you choose your specialization?
So I actually chose the leadership specialization, and now I'm going to get to know Sigrun better because I did choose the Asia Pacific specialization. However, that C word got in the way. So the nice thing though is Royal Rhodes was very accommodating, and while it's super disappointing, we do have that option to return and do it later. So okay. Yeah, let's not, there's no bad C word ladies here. But yes, so it was the COVID that the international specialization was not available for me. So I will do the leadership. I'm excited to find out more about it. It's not like it's an awful thing or whatnot. And then I probably will return and do the international specialization. I just think we live in a global world, so it's very appealing to me for sure. That would have been the reason why I went that route.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So now I know we spoke a bit about the different options, like the 18 or 31 month, but we're going to ask the question of, if you choose the blended options, that means you're not doing the on-campus, what are the residencies like? That's a question we get a lot. What are the residencies like in the program? So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into that. We're going to start with Charles, and then we'll get our student and grad perspective.
Yes, and we'll have two perspectives, because we're coming back. So if you haven't yet started the program, you would be coming into one of our on-campus residencies. So Sigrun can probably speak to that. Janice has missed her first residency because she was online. But so our program, as we've mentioned, has two residencies where people come together. Now, one of the things with residencies is, I know a lot of people say, well, geez, 3 weeks, can I get the time off, or I have to burn up my vacation time? And I'll let Sigrun talk to the value of that residency experience. I can say that when we talk to students afterwards, when we've done polls of students, they all say, that was fantastic. That was well worth it. It's how it, as Sigrun mentioned, coming back into school, it sort of got you back grounded. I always think of it a bit like going to camp, like you're going away. One thing that's nice is, when you're doing a online residency, while you can do a lot more than we in some ways ever imagined online, but you're still at home. You still have everything, all the pressing things. You're getting your emails coming in. You got to handle things. It's a little bit harder to check yourself out. Some of that exists on campus, but it's much more where you're going away, you're going into this environment, and you can really focus on the courses, getting to know your classmates, getting back into school, sharpening your writing skills, all of those pieces. So I think the residencies are an experience that people just universally come away and say, that was really, really worth it. It was really helpful to me. I really enjoyed it, and I learned so much. And everyone starts the residency the first day. I think often we talk a lot about imposter syndrome. You're sitting there, am I good enough? I haven't been in school for a long time, not sure. And by the end of the residency, you feel like you're part of a close community. So I think that that's something that has worked really well. And therefore, we're restarting them.
The only person in this conference.
Therefore, we're restarting them this in January, because we feel like that face-to-face experience is very important.
Thank you, Charles. So now it's time for the perspective of people who have been a student in the residence. So we're going to start with Sigrun, because you did your residency a few years ago. So what was your experience like?
Yeah, it's a interesting question. I do remember one of the information sessions I went to before starting the MBA. They called this residency a recreational retreat. And there were some small laughs from the graduate students, and I can laugh about this too. And I see you don't call this a recreational retreat anymore, because it is not. It is a boot camp. But again, to what Charles mentioned, like the fact really is, it forms bonds a lot. It is very, very intense. I'm not gonna lie, like there is no weekends, there is no free time, but you really jump back into the learning mode. You make an amazing, like the connections we made with our classmates in that first residency, like we're like, a lot of us are still actually friends till today. It makes a huge difference. I know Royal Rhodes did an really, really immense amount of work to try and translate that to online. I am also a mentor in the MBA program, so I know from some of the students how they felt doing that during the pandemic, and making sure that this connection is still formed. From what I've heard, it is possible, but I encourage everyone, do it, go on campus. I also know from a few of my classmates that actually they got paid time off work to do that. So if you're interested in really doing that, talk to your employer. They may be open to work something out so you don't have to use vacation days for that. And then again, like they also said, the campus is really beautiful. I had my first residency in August and I did not see a lot of that beautiful campus because again, there is no time. But again, like it is a hardship you go through. But as I mentioned earlier, for me, the few key things was, the first thing was really, I got my head back into studying, like really studying, because there is no distractions. I mean, it's a beautiful campus and I went for a run every day to clear my head. So that helps too, like the nature helps. And then again, the connections with the people, because you are all in this together. Also, I am not gonna lie, like there is an accommodation on campus, and I'm not sure how much it has changed or not, but I also just want to point out that my teammates and I, we rented a house for the second residency. But it is also fun to stay on campus. Like it is really forming a bond, and also very interesting how people behave. Like our average age in the class was about 40, and this was the first time people were away from their families for a while. So also interesting notion around that. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. And Janice, can you speak about your experience in your MBA residency?
Yeah, for sure. You know what? It's like, I feel so robbed by COVID now, because the residency, I wish we could have gone in person. Online, it was probably it wasn't the best part, for sure. Like when Charles was talking about how students are surveyed and they say that's the best part of the program, doing it online was super challenging, because as Sigrun said, like, you know, she was able to just focus on professional development for those 3 weeks. Well, we were trying to do that. We weren't really prepared, and we were still juggling. Like I was still making dinner for my kids and doing all of those normal things that you do when you're running a household. Whereas if you go away and do it, I think that it would be a much more valuable experience. So I'm super excited to going forward with that. If it is online, you just do it. Like there's, like I've said through a lot of this, it's like sometimes you just have no choice. So you get through it. And does your butt get sore? Absolutely. One thing that helped me refocus was, because we didn't have the residency, I'm investing in myself right now by educating myself. So I invested in a nice trip to Victoria, and I went to the campus just to see it so that I could connect myself on the institution where I'm learning at. I wish I would have worn my Royal Rhodes hoodie, because I got a beautiful purple hoodie. And I also got to see the peacocks that everybody talks about. The campus is stunning. Victoria is beautiful. So I can't see why there'd be anything wrong with going somewhere incredible and investing in yourself and learning.
Thank you. And I know I had a few questions prepared around like what the cohort is like, but everyone has talked about that already so much. So we're going to skip by those questions because we've covered them off. And I should mention that if anybody has any questions, pop them in the chat, because we are coming to the end of today's session, but I do want to make sure that we answer questions that people in the room have. So the next question I'm going to pose to our student and our grad is, how do you balance school, work, and life? This is a question we get all the time. And Janice, I saw you on mute, like you're ready to talk about this already. So I'm going to pass it over to you right away.
You pray. No, I think that you have to be, I think I talked about it. You have to be humble. You have to be prepared. You have to be okay with saying no. You might not get to go to the birthday parties or the events or other things. Like you need to learn to balance your time. You need to not procrastinate because there is no time to procrastinate in this program. It is, you're go, 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 go. And then just my biggest advice, maybe because like I'm an avid traveler, is make sure that you take advantage of your breaks and plan for them, right? You might need a little bit of extra time off. I think, Sigrun, you had some excellent advice. It's like, talk to your employer. There's so many different things like this program. Actually, I'm on the Canada Alberta Job Grant. So my employer is fully supportive of this. And a lot of the projects you do are for work. And we brought that in, like I did a strat plan, it's for my work and we're using it. So they're going to benefit from you, and make sure you let them know that as well.
Thank you. And Sigrun, what kind of advice do you have around how do you balance school, work, and life?
Yeah, like echoing also Janice, like one of the key parts is really being transparent with your work, transparent with your friends and your family. I do remember, like they told us in one of these information sessions, and even in the first day on campus, let your family know and your friends know you are unavailable for the next 18 months and you'll make it up after. And honestly, it's not a lie. Like, I mean, I was not one of the ones who had also a family, but like a lot of people had like a demanding job, an executive leader job, a family with small kids, and the MBA. So one of their strategies was, and I actually adopted that for myself as well, they blocked time and they actually scheduled time every day to actually work. For some of them, it was the early mornings. For some of them, it was like the nights when the kids are in bed. It really helps because you have deliverables every day. They really keep you on your toes, which I appreciate, because otherwise, our tendency to procrastinate is always coming through. But doing small things every day, especially early in the weeks, really does help. Spending more time on weekends for writings also does help. Don't procrastinate, don't leave it to the last minute for these things. This is what I really learned to schedule myself in, and just really being open and transparent. And again, especially when you talk to your employer, as Janice said, because almost every assignment you do individually or as a group is tied to a problem at work. So they actually really do benefit for that. And I know some employers even help financially. So just have an open conversation. If they want to pay for that. I had a classmate working for Chevron, and they fully paid the MBA with no expectations to stay in the job afterwards, for example. So I was surprised by that. Be open, have these conversations early on, make sure that you are transparent to your family and friends. You will have much less time for them. As Janice said, these birthday parties you actually may have to skip out on. But again, it's a limited time, and you will have more time for these things, I believe, when you do the 31 months program. But in the 18 months, I can tell you it is very intense. But then again, it is also a time block. So after 18 months, you are done. And there's an end to it, and that makes it worthwhile.
Thank you both for sharing that perspective. And those are some great tips for how to balance work and life in general. So thank you for that. So we're coming up to our last question today. And this is a roundtable question to all of our panelists. And the question is, do you have any advice for someone considering an MBA? So we're going to do a quick roundtable starting with Charles. Like, this is kind of that final piece of advice for anyone in the room considering an MBA. Over to you, Charles.
My final advice for anyone considering the Royal Rhodes MBA, and I'm looking at the question, is it 7 days per week work, or is there 1 day off, a day of rest? So I'll put that back to the students can address. I assume that you mean within the context of the residency, and the residency tends to have your main classes during the weekdays. On the weekends, there can be some additional activities. We don't have typically a lot of formal class sessions, but we have like the accounting tutorials and writing tutorials and other things. So we try to, there are some activities, in part because people have often traveled to Victoria. They're in Victoria. While they want to go do a little sightseeing, you have team assignments, you have written assignments. And so there's some supports to help you with all of that. In terms of doing an MBA, I mean, again, I really think our MBA, a key strength, there's a couple of things there around the level of experience that people bring to the MBA. And I think, as a few people have noted, and a few of you all are probably there, we are more flexible. So, I mean, I think is the term we would use in terms of our admissions, and saying that you don't absolutely have to have an undergraduate degree before you come into our program. Now, super if you have, but what we find is that, 15 years after you get that undergrad degree, or didn't get that undergrad degree, maybe you did a diploma or some other programs, we don't really see a difference in terms of the quality. We've looked at, grades and quality of the work that people are able to do, contributions, all of those pieces. There's not a significant difference. And the question came up earlier about, well, what's the difference between an undergrad business degree and a graduate business degree? And I would say the main thing is that, wow, you know a lot more, right? You're 15, 20 years on. I think of it, I went back to my high school reunion. I thought, wow, 10, 20 years out of high school, we all look a lot more comfortable. You become more comfortable because you become more confident, you gain skills, you gain more knowledge of where maybe your skills might need further development. You gain more knowledge of the world of work, all of those things, where you want to go, how you want to continue to develop. And this is, a lot of people are thinking about making a change in their organization, making a change in their careers when they come into the program. And so you have this network of peers who you can work through with that. And so I shouldn't say it as a teacher. I think the content of the courses and what we teach you is important, but mostly more important will be what you'll learn from everyone in the program. So.
Thank you. And I'm going to update my slide. Do you have any final words of advice? Because I know we were giving advice and tips throughout today's session the whole way through. So I'm going to update this slide. Mark, did you have anything that you wanted to share with somebody considering an MBA?
Yeah, just in brief, I think it's very important that students come here mentally ready, psychologically ready for this kind of program. I want to clarify something, that the Royal Rhodes MBA, it's different because all the courses are curtailed by internationally renowned experts in their areas. So you are expected to come ready to do a graduate level kind of work as opposed to an undergraduate level kind of work. So it's very important to be mentally ready. And as we say in sports, come in with your game face, because you'll be hitting the ground from day one.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And Sigrun, do you have any final words of advice for someone considering an MBA?
Yeah, thank you. And Mark, I really appreciate you saying that, because yes, it is an important thing, like get mentally ready. And I know we are saying this throughout the entire session, be ready to actually be there, hit the ground running, be ready to not have a lot of free time. But also, I mean, we are saying this, and I know I've heard this before, I can recommend an MBA to almost everyone if you are ready to go that level in your career. It is really worthwhile, to what Charles has said, like the connections you're building are almost more valuable than what you're learning. You are learning a lot. I'm applying my learnings still every day, and it's been like almost 6 years since I graduated. Be ready, like make sure that you know what you want, but then Royal Rhodes program is very unique in that sense too, that it actually, you are among peers, and everyone has imposter syndrome. Just getting that back out of the, like, don't worry about this, you will have imposter syndrome, but everyone has it, you are not alone. But once you are there, just stick with it, and really don't be afraid to ask your peers and your team members for support. Like, the connections you are forming are invaluable. You are in this program, you are not alone. My sister in Germany did a bachelor self-paced. It took her way longer, and she was struggling way more, because this cohort-based learning really gives you the connections you need to go through that together as a team. Value that, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Thank you. That's great advice. And Janice, how about yourself? Do you have any final words of advice for someone considering an MBA?
Yeah, I have to agree with Sigrun. It's like the cohort-based learning does make it a little bit easier. And I know we keep saying be ready, but what does that really look like? It can mean, and I looking back at the question from the chat about the 7 days a week, yes, it can mean that. It changes with each kind of courses. So you may have, you think you've got your life together for 8 weeks because you've gone classes on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then all of a sudden everything's changed, and you might have days where you're on Zoom for 8, even up to 10 hours with your group, right? On a Saturday. Is that going to happen during the week? No, but is it possible that during the week you need to jump on with them at noon? Yes, absolutely. You also have to be ready for time changes. Your group members are all over Canada. They could be, you have to work with the time changes. So those are some of the things that I would say is just be ready to like really commit yourself for 18 months, where usually like my work does come first, my kids do come first, but this really comes before everything else, right? Like, of course, you'll make time for your children and you have to work around your work schedule, but everything else really, really takes a back burner. So yeah, that's what I would say to you. And then take advantage of those 2 weeks. You do get it, so take advantage of them.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone here today who joined today's session to learn more about the MBA. And thank you to our panelists. This has been such an informative session, and I hope that it answered the questions that the people in the room came to find the answer to. So if you do have any questions that we didn't answer, please connect with Tracy in enrollment, reach out to us. We are here to support you. And we do have some other upcoming webinars. I know Selena's going to pop a link in the chat for an upcoming question and answer with the Dean that we have coming up. And we have past recordings of other MBA program info sessions. So the information is there and we can help connect you to it. I want to thank you all once again and hope everyone has a great rest of their day today.